Did you get married in your
Yeah, I did get married for a couple. I was married for a couple years, and then I lived with the girl for a couple years, and so I got a few, and they both had children, and so I have some stepchildren out there, but I don't have no. I never had any kids of my own, but I was just always maybe a stepfather, but I didn't have no kids of my own.
are you still in touch with those kids?
No, because of my lifestyle and through the years, I have I didn't have any contact with the kids after me and the moms broke up.
Yeah. Are those relationships something you want to talk about at all?
Uh, well, I don't really know too much. No, I don't. I don't really know too much about them. Uh, I know that one of the best relationships I had was after I was married and after I lived with a girl. Uh, then I had just a friend relationship with a girl, and it wasn't. That's the best relationship I ever had is with a girl. Uh, my marriage and stuff was just kind of like it was back during the heavy drug use and alcoholism, and it was just chaos from the word go.
Yeah.
So there wasn't nothing there.
So this good relationship with this girl, what was her name?
Her name was Cheryl.
Cheryl. And how old were you? Had you stopped using drugs at the time already? Or?
No, I hadn't quit using drugs at the time, but uh, drugs wasn't my main purpose, at that time. Uh, and so we, uh, I used them I guess you would call it recreational use with drugs, but I never and drinking. We would, a matter of fact, we would go drinking, and playing pool at bars and stuff. But I never did drinking. I mean, drug use was never really. It wasn't my main purpose back then. So we only would go out drinking and playing pool and enjoying stuff like that.
And this was before you got shot?
No, this was at uh, yeah, this was after I got shot. I had to think about that for a minute. That was after I got shot.
Was this like between 35 and 40, something like
Hmm.
that?
Around 35, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what did you notice about drugs and alcohol in your previous relationships, like in your marriage? What did it do? What was the effect?
Uh, now, what? Say that again. What's the question?
What was what did you notice the effect was of addictions or substances in your previous relationships?
Okay, well, I with my wife, she was really into uh, getting partying. She would do some drugs sometimes, but it was just kind of like she was really into partying. She was into drinking, and mainly drinking was her big outlet. You know, her substance, her drug of choice was alcohol. But I ain't saying she wouldn't maybe drink some cough syrup or something, with some cocaine in it or whatever was going on at the time. But she was alcohol was her thing, and then the girl that I lived with, she was she was really had a substance abuse. She really she was a heroin addict. She really, and she was going through. Actually, I was trying to help her with sending her to a what do you call it, a methadone clinic, and she was doing methadone, trying to get off the heroin and stuff, and but it wasn't so much heroin as it was. Well, it was more for her. It was more of uh, uh, the heroin, the fit, the legal heroin, the drug,
Okay.
Dilaudid. It's more. She was addicted to Dilaudid more. It was a kind of it was heroin, but it was kind of like uh, the legal pill, the prescribed heroin. And now they use it for pain and stuff. Like if you go into the hospital, they give you some Dilaudid when you do in your IVs and stuff when you're having real pain. It's kind of like morphine or something.
And did you feel that those substances impacted the relationship specifically?
Yeah, it really had a real bad effect on them because I started doing Dilaudid at that time too. And I was trying to, even though I was spending money trying to help her get off of by sending her to, like, for example, to methadone clinic, then I would turn right around and buy her Dilaudid. So I was kind of like debating the purpose. On one hand, I would be getting her, trying to get her off of it by sending her to methadone clinics, and then that night I'd be, we'd be shooting up Dilaudid, and that just wasn't. It was kind of like defeating the purpose.
Yeah.
And the same way with my wife and the drinking, and she was cheating on me left and right, and I kind of like knew it, but I was kind of I was kind of blind to, or I was kind of like didn't want to admit it, and I would kind of like I would use the drugs to kind of like help me get through the situation without having to see what was really going on or admit what was really going on. And I knew what was going on. So it isn't really like she was really cheating on me. it's just that she was just running around partying, and I knew what was going on, but didn't have the gumption to do anything about it because I didn't want to admit it. So I was doing drugs too and blanking that out, trying to use that as an escape.
Yeah, so you were using drugs to put your mind somewhere else other than what was really happening.
Yeah, because I had grown up all my life, like from when I was doing that with my mom and dad, from the beginning. I was trying to learn how to escape. So by that time, I had learned how to escape whenever I would get into a situation that I didn't want to deal with. I would just numb that, whatever, that part of my brain that was having to deal with it. I would numb that with drugs and alcohol.
So I guess one last question about your recovery. Well, I take it AA was fundamental in that recovery process. What was your relationship to God or to Jesus during that time? Were you praying a lot, or you also mentioned the Buddhist meditation?
Yeah, I was at that point. I was praying a lot, and I was seeking God, but I didn't really know where God. I didn't know what God I was looking for. I just knew that I wanted to believe in something that was something. I knew there was something out there and I didn't know what it was. And I knew there had to be something. And I was trying to find that, and I was doing it through prayer and meditation. And I was even going to different churches like Baptist and Methodist and Catholic, and I was doing, and the Native Americans. That was my first association with any kind of religion was Native Americans, because they're a real high power oriented type of a culture. And so I could relate with them because their Jesus was a little bit different than my grandparents' Jesus. It was, the grandparents that I talked about, that was Baptist, strict Baptist. Well, they would try and drive a certain kind of a Jesus down your throat. And at least in my opinion, that's what they were doing. They was trying to force a certain kind of belief system on me. And the Native Americans were kind of like, they let you figure out what you wanted, how they would let, at least it seemed like it was more open. They were more open. And that was my first experience with any kind of religion and stuff, was the Native Americans.
So the Native Americans also followed Jesus?
Yeah. But they don't necessarily, a lot of them follow Jesus, but they don't necessarily call it Jesus, but they follow Jesus.
So did you spend time at the tribe on the tribal grounds?
Yes, I did. And I will say this, I don't talk too much about this because I don't necessarily believe this now, because it's kind of like crosses over with it interferes with the teachings, the Yogananda's teachings that I'm into right now. And well, they always will be now, but I they like I was going when I was doing a lot of the Native American religions. I would participate in their ceremonies, and I was doing a lot of peyote, but only in their ceremonies. And I feel that there is a difference between. That's where a lot of people make a mistake is they think peyote is just as a form of getting high. Peyote, like for example, peyote for the Native Americans is a way to experience religion, God, and it's a spiritual thing. It isn't a way of getting high for them. Now, Jim Morrison did peyote, but he was just by getting high. Where the Native Americans, they was about finding God, and so you would go into a teepee and they would have a Native American ceremonies, and they would have what they call, they would a road. I forget what they call it now. The road. I can't. That's something else I have lost. I have lost a lot of my ability to form words. They had a roadman, and he was just like a spiritual teacher that would travel around, and he would go wherever they was you asked for him to go to perform ceremonies. And it was to them doing peyote is a whole just a ceremony on finding on a God, on spirituality, not on getting high. So you go there and you have a peyote, but Yogananda believes in don't believe in peyote because it, and I agree now. Peyote is just a way of it's kind of like a crutch. You know, you find God through peyote. You always got to go through peyote to get to God. And but for me, see, Vince, I just believed in the doing peyote with a roadman or a spiritual teacher of an advisor. It wasn't a way of getting high, and so it was kind of always a. I didn't. It was just kind of like it was a glimpse. You would get a glimpse of what you're looking for. At least for me, I would say, well, this is. I want to find God, but I want to be able to do it without peyote.
So can you tell us about your experiences on peyote? Like what did you see anything? Did you feel anything?
Well, yeah, you wouldn't necessarily see, at least for me, I didn't necessarily see anything. It's kind of like an inner experience, an inner thing. It wasn't a visual thing for me. It was more of a connection with the divine. And so I would have these feelings, and some people can actually get healed from different because of an inner healing, I believe, an inner healing, and some people think, well, they're crazy, they're superstitious because they think that they can get healed by eating some kind of cactus, and that isn't necessarily what I feel it's all about. It's about healing from the inside out, and that's their way of connecting with God. But now it can be a distraction if you use it, if you think that that's the only way you can find God is through peyote, because that is only a tool to get to. For me, that is only a tool to get to God. That isn't what God is all about. So if you let it become a distraction, it can. It can very easily become a distraction, I think, for somebody that don't really believe that they can find it without peyote.
Interesting. So you mentioned feelings of divine connection. Can you describe that more for someone who perhaps hasn't had that? Is it possible? Can you take a crack at it?
That is kind of like, no, I don't really know that I can describe it because it is kind of, I'm trying, there you're trying to talk about something that's indescribable. You're trying to describe something that's indescribable and it just don't work. At least for me, it's, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like just a connection that where you believe that everything is one. You believe everything's connected. It's kind of like I would think that it's kind of like a form. I'll call it a form. I ain't gonna say that it is, but it's kind of like a form of samadhi. It's something that can't really be talked about or explained. It's just a feeling. It's a knowing. It's an inner thing. It's going within.
Were you like watching your thoughts as it happened? Did it change your thought patterns or what you were thinking about, how you saw the world?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. Seeing everything as one. You like you would see where you're connected to the trees, you're connected to the birds, you're connected to each other. Everything is one. Everything's all. It's just a matter of atoms and stuff. How fast the molecules are moving, is whether it's solid or not. It's about energy. So, and it's hard to explain energy. And, at least for me. Now, Einstein might have been able to, but I can't.
Yeah. So how did that experience of oneness compare to your experiences in the Buddhist meditation?
Well, I didn't really have that experience that's in Buddhist meditation. For me, Buddhist meditation was just but I can't say that it was a waste of time because Buddhist meditation for me helped me just clear my mind and stop and calm down to where I could have them experiences. And just like now I use Hong Sao or Kriya to have that same experience that I had with Buddha, the Buddhism experiences. It's just a way of calming down for me. I don't know about somebody else, but for me, it's about calming down so I can have that divine connection.